not everybody should take the money. I mean, venture capital, all it is lending, but it takes an equity stake.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to give up that equity, if you don't want to give up that control, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't do that.
Right.
But some people are saying, well, it's worth it if I could have people help me grow it. But if I'm a great, competent leader and I'm a great inventor, run it the whole way. Right? You don't need that.
Right.
So you have to decide who you are.
There's something to be said about building your business in a way that makes it fundable so that you can get a runway to compete on a bigger platform. So even if you shoot for the stars, and hit something lower, you still, made big money versus someone who's playing in a game that's much smaller.
These are the problems that are starting to happen with adoption of AI. People are saying, it's not working the way you said it was gonna work. So companies now, it was another study that came out that said, and the other problem is, like they said, 43% of the ones coming out, only about 10% are actually delivering the value that they said they were gonna get from it.
Really?
So everybody's starting to hit the brakes.
Wow.
Mark Zuckerberg was paying NBA salaries to get all these AI people working there.
Yeah.
He just hit the brakes and said, hold on. Companies are not asking for this stuff anymore. So everybody's kind of digesting now.
Wow.
And saying, let's slow down a little bit. It looks like this thing is not producing everything we said it's gonna produce.
There's a critical question being asked all over the entrepreneurial space, and that is, where is the money? Now, when you consider there's only so many ways to get the capital you need to get your product or your idea to the market, there's a whole space of people out there that just don't have the same problem as others, trying to make sure that they can really, really get that idea to maturity. And we're gonna talk about and unpack some things around what's really going on and where's the money at and why is it not getting to everyone who needs it? Then we're gonna talk a little bit about AI and get beyond some of the hype and some of the real things that have been fast forwarded into where we are today with AI and get past some of the things that people think AI is and the real struggles that people are having really trying to get it to be adopted. Today, I have a wonderful friend and guest, Mr. Cory Haynes, and I'm so excited to have him here on this particular episode. This is someone who is an executive at Salesforce and has a just long resume career of just being an outstanding professional and executive leader on so many levels. But today, he is here to talk about a special opportunity that he has embarked upon as a general partner of Vanta Ventures, and he has a mission that you want to know about. I want to welcome you, Cory. It's so great to have you here on the show. How you doing?
Great to be here, Michael. This is awesome. I appreciate the opportunity. And great to talking to you about this very, very important topic.
Very important topic. Yeah. Now, we go way back. We've got, we really basically grew up together, and I've watched your career from afar. And I've always admired just the professional you've been and how you've grown and all the companies you've worked at. So I just want everyone to know.
Likewise.
Well, yeah, we've got our different journeys.
And we've worked together.
Absolutely. And we've worked together.
Yeah,
we've worked together.
Been a part of your businesses, so
yes, you have.
Appreciate those opportunities.
You contributed a lot to my companies. And now, when you think about today, I'm so amazed by what you're even attempting to get into now, right? And because you've been a part of so many large organizations and you've been around a circle of companies where money's just flowing everywhere. These companies got so much money, right?
Ridiculous.
But it's just not getting everywhere. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about, for people that don't understand, tell us how you even got involved with thinking about what is going on with venture capital today.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, just like you, right, a kid, I'm an immigrant kid, came to this country through my parents, didn't have access to capital, right, didn't see money, didn't grow up with money. So that's not in our system, not in our DNA. We just trying to make it, right? Scratching and surviving, right?
Good times.
Trying to have good times, right? And so, like you, just trying to go through school, trying to have access, and you get jobs, you see things, and you just kind of go about your business. But when you start to see the mechanics behind things and see how systems work, you start to see that there's a lot of things that we've been missing, right? And in our communities, we take pride in just trying to scratch and survive, but There's other people who learn that it's not about scratching and surviving. It's about taking things and thriving.
Yeah.
And taking things and running. And one of the things I really noticed was that I read this book, and it was called The Secrets of Sand Hill Road. It was by Scott Kapoor.
Yeah.
And it was really eye-opening for me about the way he talked about what happens on Sand Hill Road, which is where right here off of 280,
tell them about that.
Going down in Silicon Valley. And he was really relating to like where the money is. And it was really eye-opening, saying that there is no real, he was saying the secrets are, there is no secret. And he said there's 3 things that give people access to capital.
Okay.
One, we all know, it's a great product idea. You have a great idea about a product.
Right.
Okay, that's good. You have a good idea about product. The second thing is that there's a market for that product, right? There's a big market for the product, and we can go into depth about TAM and SAM and SOM.
Right.
And then the third thing he said is about team. There's a team that's put together, and this team has familiarity, and you construct a team, and you know the team. But he got into depth about team. And he said what a team is, it de-risks the money. What he meant by de-risk the money is that when investors are giving you money, what an investor is saying is that I'm giving you money saying that I should have familiarity with you. And I'll pretty much, if I give you that money, I'm gonna know that you're not gonna just spend my money and blow it away. So to de-risk it, I wanna know that maybe you're the same school I went to. Maybe you're the same community I'm from. Maybe you're the same cohort I'm with or the same group I'm from. So what usually happens is the first group says, hey, you're from that same community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That same school, Harvard, Yale, Stanford.
Right.
And then you just start to get these circles, right? And they lend to the same people, and they lend to the same people.
It becomes an ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
Not really regardless of color per se, not really regardless of religion, but it's just tends to be those same groups.
Yeah.
And he said it had nothing to do with the idea. It wasn't that they were any smarter.
Right.
It was just because, hey, we went to the same school. You probably had the same professor.
Yeah.
You probably went to the same synagogue. Probably went to the same wherever.
Yeah.
So pretty much had the same ideas. So I just de-risked it, right? Because there was a familiarity.
Yeah.
So that let us know that right there, these communities started to create their own circles, and that money just circulated.
Right.
So it told you right there that it had nothing to do with that anybody was smarter than anybody.
Right.
And he put that in the book. Who's to say that the person who did Zoom was any different from the person who did WebEx was the person who did something else before that?
Right.
Steve Jobs was the person who created the iPad. There's people who created all kind of electrical stuff before that.
Right.
So it wasn't just the ideas, it was timing, location, and just capital that allowed you to have access to capital to keep those ideas going.
Wow, I want to break in a little bit here. This is so powerful what you're saying. I mean, this is just a nuclear bomb to think about, because there's so many people who are brilliant, and we know just in knowing a lot about African American history, which I know you do as well, there's so many inventors who were behind some of the greatest things we know of today that are unnamed, unlisted. They just wasn't in the circle, and some of them was in the circle, and someone came and took it and replaced their name.
That's right.
So when you think about, when I see someone, it reminds me of myself or my nephew or my cousin.
Yes.
There's a human behavior to feel more comfortable. And sometimes de-risk can literally mean I'm more comfortable, right? And that's the danger. And I want to just, before we're going to put a little landmark right here, and we're going to come right back here, but I want to back up to something you said a little bit. We were kind of being comical there about scratching and surviving good times and hanging in a child line and so forth. But I do want to bring that up, because what is your take on, I notice in a lot of underserved communities that because of maybe not being exposed to certain things, sometimes people don't even realize what they're really saying and where they're putting the emphasis. You hear a lot about rise and grind. You hear a lot about the struggle and scrapping and working hard. And people are putting the emphasis on, now, don't get me wrong, you can't be lazy. You have to be diligent. You should work hard at what you do, and it's not to take away from people with great ideas who happen to be of a certain ethnicity and happen to have connections, but their idea was still awesome, right? And you got to honor that. But the problem is when you put too much emphasis on this grind mentality, you start to try to you can be working harder at the wrong thing.
That's right.
And you cannot realize you should be trying to get into better rooms, better environments, and better connectivity and better proximity.
That's right.
So that you can get better results. What do you say about this mentality that just oversaturates underserved communities?
We're glamorizing the struggle.
Yeah.
See, and that struggle doesn't pay off the way it should. So for example, let me give you a great example. And it's so telling, and let me kind of give you some of the numbers. So in technology, for example, right? And let's just take this AI journey that we've been on, and I'm gonna come back to this.
Yeah.
The AI journey in the last 24 months has evolved so quickly. It's been unimaginable. There was a study that just did something just recently. And they just did this study that just said it's unimaginable. So they're building these data centers right now. They're building these data centers. And they are saying right now the data centers that they're building, by the time they finish these data centers that they're building, they'll never get the ROI because the technology is already changing by the time they finish it.
Wow.
So these multi-billion-dollar data centers, Oracle's investing in, Microsoft's investing, big companies, by the time they turn on the light, it will already be devalued. My point is, if trillion-dollar companies can't keep up with the technology,
right,
how can Joe, you, me, in a struggle try to keep up with the little money we have in a grind and a struggle with no capital?
Right.
By saying I'm grinding it out and I have no capital access because things are changing so quickly, but I'm gonna grind it out, I'm gonna hustle. I can't.
Yeah.
I need access to capital to be able to scale my idea and get it out quickly.
Right.
So what I should be trying to do, as you said, get more capital, scale my idea, be able to pivot and move in the market and spend less time trying to worry about how much I'm gonna, work with $1,000 and grind it out and go try to get that $1 million, scale a team, grow quickly, either sell my idea, pivot, or grow even faster. Right? It's about scale. There's two measurements, and I'm not gonna go into math real quick, but there's a measurement called IRR, and there's one called TVPI, which is total value private investment. But the point is about scale and speed. That's what it's about right now, scale and speed.
Right.
You have to move fast and you have to scale.
Yeah.
That's what investors are looking at.
Yeah.
They're not looking at your grind. There's no measurement for that.
Right.
I have no equation for grind.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my point I'm making.
Yeah.
I have a measurement for scale and for speed.
Well, now, okay, now this is powerful what you're saying. Now, let's unpack this a little bit though, right? So there is another side of things where I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, multimillionaires.
Yes.
But at the same token, there's this unspoken chasm, if you will, and this divide between the entrepreneurial world and getting venture funding.
Sure.
So some who take pride in I bootstrapped, no one came in, I 100% own my company, and those things. And some people do that and make big companies, but it's not easy to do, and it's very rare, right? And so you got this people promoting to people like, don't take the money, like don't, right? And then when you even want to, you find out how hard it is to get it. So then you kind of are left back into bootstrap land, back into trying to, turn $1,000 into $10,000 and all this. But when you think about that, based on what you're saying, people who feel like will say, okay, Cory, I get what you're saying, but how do I actually do that? Because and I think this is so important because I think people have to make a big decision.
Yes.
Is how big do you want to play?
That's a great point.
Because some people don't want to play that big.
That's a great point.
If you just want to build a business that is a legacy for your family, pass down the restaurant that has your name on it, but if you want to make the big money, you want to play in the big arena,
that's right.
I think what you're talking about is something someone has to change their thinking because wealth loves speed, right? So everyone makes $1 million, it's just $20,000 over 50 years.
That's right.
Right? You made $20,000 a year for 50 years. You made $1 million,
that's right.
But it's different if you made that in a month.
Right.
It's not the amount, but it's how quickly you did it. So when you're talking about speed and scale, it appears that someone has to make a decision how big you want to play.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. You made a great point. It's where you want to be, where you want to play, and there's different exit strategies. And this is what I tell people all the time too. You could be a serial entrepreneur and have an exit strategy that you never want to run a company. You're just an innovator.
Right.
So my exit strategy is to grow it and sell it.
Sell it, pass it on.
And pass it on. And you know this very well, and you teach a great class. Not every innovator can run a company.
Right.
I have a great idea, and I sell the idea.
I'm not a CEO, though.
I'm not a CEO. Steve Jobs is a great example of that.
He is.
Tim Cook is a far better CEO than Steve Jobs ever could be.
Right.
But Steve Cook is not an innovator.
Exactly.
As you can see. He's way behind with AI. Can't catch up.
Yeah.
But he can get an iPhone out 10 times, 30 times better than any time that Steve Jobs can do. It's a different personality set.
Right.
Steve Ballmer was the same thing with I forget my guy, Bill Gates. So you have different, they call them operators and innovators, right? And so you have to decide where you want to be. And so sometimes, and that's why we even look at our funding, when as a VC, you say, okay, when you look at a team, you may look at a team and say, this guy or this woman, she's a great innovator. So we're gonna fund this company, but we're gonna take an equity stake and want to put in another leader. Because this person can't really lead a company or they can't lead it to this next level. So this is a good idea, but they can't run a company. They can't hire nobody. They're brash. They can't build people up. But their ideas are incredible, but they can never lead. Or you might have a person that's a great operator, but they can't get to that next level. They have, or they can get to the next level, but they can't get another idea out the gate. So you have different levels, right? And so I think your point is well taken, is that not everybody should take the money. I mean, venture capital, all it is lending, but it takes an equity stake. And if you don't want to give up that equity, if you don't want to give up that control, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't do that. But some people are saying, well, it's worth it if I could have people help me grow it. But if I'm a great, competent leader and I'm a great inventor, run it the whole way. Right? You don't need that. So you have to decide who you are. Some people don't have all the skill sets. And they need help. Some people do, and they can run it themselves. So I think it's really where you are.
And you still need capital, right? I wanna go. This is as an entrepreneur of the last 25 years, we talking about some stuff I can relate to. I wanna pull up my whiteboard for a minute and just kind of unpack something real quick. And we're gonna go back where you left off at Sand Hill Road there, because I think when you think about it, we have an individual here, that is an entrepreneur, and they actually get this idea, right? And the key is it's so precious, because when you get an idea for a product or an invention or something that's gonna make a difference, like every business is built to solve a problem, hands down, and you will earn according to the level of problem you can solve, right? So when you consider this, when I have this idea and now I want to put this idea into some sort of company structure, and I'm saying now I want to start a company where I can grow this idea. But if I want to get to this company to the point where it actually can move and scale upwards, right? Where this company now can grow and it can move up this trajectory. Say you want to get that company to $100 million in 5 years or 7 years. And I think a big issue is we don't have enough entrepreneurs, especially underserved, that even think in that realm.
That's right.
Right? They're not even thinking that's possible. They don't even know the pathway to get there. Whereas there's other people in other communities, they're thinking that way from the gate. Like while they're at the idea table, they're thinking of how to get there, and they're thinking about exit or not and what I want to do. So what Cory's been really educating us on here is a lot of times when you're in this kind of mindset of more of the bootstrap, you can't even see this, how to get there. All you can see is how to get to this next thing. And what does that cost? Like, what does it cost for me just to get my MVP done with my product, or to get just an initial something going with it? And then I'm trying to get to my next milestone. Now, the key is, even with venture capital, we still have milestones that we might be reaching for. But the difference is, if I can get a venture relationship, and I can get someone to, whether you're starting to get into, like seed rounds or Series A, Series B, all of this, if somebody will come and give me a bundle of money, right? And now I've got, let's just say $1 million to start this off, I can then reorganize how I'm approaching this. I can get the team that I need. I can get the equipment that I need.
That's right.
And I have the better chance of getting to this ultimate goal without losing speed, without the timing of the market, all these things. So the last thing I'll say on this is that oftentimes we're left with either family and friends try to maybe help us out, right? There's family and friends. Then there's like SBA loans, trying to get some sort of lending. But, in these areas, there's private loans that you can, try to get to. There's angel investors. There's all these things that you can try to deal with. But the thing that we always are dealing with as this entrepreneur is it going to be debt or is it going to be equity?
That's right.
If I take debt, I got to pay it back. If I take equity, they're in it for the ride with me. I don't have to pay it back, but they want a percentage ownership and whatever happens next, and they may want to get involved and tell me some things I need to do, right? So I wanted to just kind of unpack this arena. And so when you think about this, what you're talking about and where you left off, let's go back to Silicon Valley now.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? And what is in this new venture you're in? Tell me about it. How can you make a difference in the disparity and that circle that people don't necessarily see?
Yep.
And so it leaves a whole group of people marginalized and out of it. What do you plan to do about this?
Yeah, so I think there's two things. I think the money is one thing and the capital is one thing, but I think the bigger piece is what you just said, is actually the equity, to me, is the ability to advise, right? And so I think this is where it really comes into me, is that what we're trying to do is say, here's what we learned, right? And this is why I feel at this stage in my life and with partners like yourself and others we could pull in to say, here's what you can learn.
Yeah.
And this is really what's happening with the new venture, and this is what Scott was saying in his book, and what the new venture capitalists are really doing now is saying, help these new businesses really learn. And that's what really businesses are asking for now. It's like, we got an idea.
Yeah.
But we don't know how to run a company.
It's not just the money.
It's not just the money. They
Yeah.
want that advice of people who've been doing this, who've been marketing, who've been doing B2B sales, who work in certain industries, who've seen this before, right? Tell us how to work and operate, who have connections, help us understand the world we're gonna be entering.
Right.
Because all I know is I came up with this great widget.
Right.
But I'm entering this shark-infested pool of this new world. I'm coming from Florida, Michigan, and here I come to the Bay Area, or vice versa, right? So that's what they're looking for. So with that equity, you're not really just trying to own them and say, I'm just gonna take your money.
Right.
Because part of equity is saying, I'm putting myself on the line too.
Exactly. Because
right?
you lose, they lose it all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I'm in it with you.
Right.
So it's really helping them and helping these companies. And really, we always say this too, right? And this is part of venture, so it's not like everything is gonna win. It's called the 1 in 100. So if I get 100 companies, usually just one is gonna win.
Right. And the venture capital arena really used that guide that they expect to lose more than they gain, but that one is enough to make up for all the other 99.
But you never know which one.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
So it's not like I'll have a line of 100 and it's like one of them's gonna win.
Right.
I can have a line of 200 and keep losing, and 200 and finally something happens. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the venture, right? That's part of the kind of risk. But I think, getting to your point, my goal for this and the limited partners that come in and help and want to be a part of it is really to help those entrepreneurs see the vision. You're putting a stake in it, saying, I'm in this with you. I'm here to help you. And the other thing is, what we're trying to do with that money is say, you got a 3-year runway. Don't rush.
Right.
Don't worry about it. That's the point of the money.
Right.
Instead of like a loan that you got to start paying back.
Yeah.
And you're right in the middle of it as you're trying to build money. You're always paying back this monthly thing. You get that money, you have 3 years.
Right.
Now you have 3 years to prove yourself, and you have to return it at a certain percentage, right? 3x or 4x, whatever the agreement is. But you got that time.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. In that time, let's start producing. Let's start producing. Now you're gonna have meetings and board meetings and making sure you're doing it. But the goal is to make sure that these businesses see the opportunity, get the time, get the mentoring, put them and surround them for success.
Right.
And as you said, instead of work smarter, not harder, right? And I'm still with the Kobe mentality. We don't rest until the end. Right? I'm not giving anybody a freebie here. Like, they're not going to be getting that money and just relaxing.
Exactly, right.
But they got to work, but work harder so you can build a team, like you said, build the idea, pivot, change, move, but be successful and compete with the other people versus struggling and going nowhere.
Yeah. I want to, so well said, Cory, and I just want to say this for, something that we have to think about, and especially those that are entrepreneurs, like the venture world is not for everybody because there's some things that they don't consider investable, right?
That's right.
Because it's not industries they're interested in. It's not something that has a 10x type of opportunity, a 100x type of opportunity. So, but those that are in spaces in which this applies, and honestly, if you're an entrepreneur, you should be thinking about how to create things that can be investable, right?
Exactly.
And I think something that we have to realize is that everything still is a game. And even when we think about wealth and people, the mentality of most people who don't have, they look at taxes and the IRS as something to take from you. But really, the IRS code, the tax code was really created for the wealthy to see how to navigate to not have to pay the taxes, right? So it's all how you look at the game.
Right.
So yes, we hate to figure out what we're gonna have to pay this year or whatever, but there's people who don't even think that way. They think about tax strategy and they see the tax code as a way to not pay taxes, where most people see it as the thing that's taking it away. The reason I'm bringing that up is when you look at the venture arena and you understand the game of it, you understand what they're looking for. They want to see, MRR, like, a recurring revenue. They want to, you mentioned TAM and SAM and all these things. You start learning what they're looking for. You start learning how to talk to them.
That's right.
Conversation leads to compensation. So if I know the language of that arena, then I can speak in a way that will allow me to have the capital, because the thing that destroys most businesses is lack of capital, and we know that. But there's something to be said about building your business in a way that makes it fundable so that you can get a runway to compete on a bigger platform. So even if you shoot for the stars, and hit something lower, you still, made big money versus someone who's playing in a game that's much smaller. So I think what you're also doing, Cory, is you are trying to create an avenue to allow people to play in a bigger game.
Play in a bigger game. And here's the thing, Michael, and this is so funny. People think like this game is locked. People are trying to throw money.
Yeah.
So
they don't have a place to put it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's a really simple thing. All people are saying, and this is what happens with a lot of capital, they're looking at a simple thing. They're looking at their bank and they're saying, what interest rate can I get? This is what happens. There's cash just sitting. Can I get a better rate in my checking or savings account, my savings account? I can't get a good rate in my savings account. What do I do with it? Where can I get a better rate? Okay, well, I'm gonna look at this venture fund. What do you have in this venture fund? Well, 1 out of 3 1 out of 9 will make it. Okay, well, if I average that out, that's a better rate. I'll go there.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Wow.
And when we go to them, we say, okay, well, these are the firms that we're looking at. There's this AI, there's this thesis. I'm with that thesis. That sounds good to me. I want a little bit, because it's not all their money.
Right.
It's a portion of their money that they was gonna sit in an account anyway.
Right.
And they're willing to have that money go there. So it's not a big hill. It's not these big ideas like all of a sudden people are just trying to dice it out. There's just money just sitting there that people are looking to have invested. And a lot of times you're like, that's good. I've always wanted to invest in a minority company.
Yeah.
I always wanted this AI thing. I've always wanted to put money into a woman's company.
Yeah.
And so it's just sitting around.
Yeah.
And they're looking and hoping that someone, most of the times what they tell me, you're the gift I've been looking for. You're the thing I've been trying to get a hold of. I've always wanted, I hear this all the time, I've been looking to do this for, where have you been?
Right.
And it's not me, because I'm just conveying, saying this is the companies that we're looking at. And they're looking for all these entrepreneurs that have been sitting around, and to your point, as long as their idea fits this thesis,
Right.
they've been looking for that opportunity. And they know the deal. They know some will make it, they know some won't, and they're just like you. But some of them will be the next ...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they want an opportunity to be a part of that.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. And it's just a different mentality to realize the money is there. It's not the money. It's the fact you have to make yourself findable.
That's right.
So if I, every time I look at the amount of money that Elon Musk has, and I think about the fact that he could give the entire world $1 billion. Like everyone could have $1 billion and he still would have money left over.
That's right.
I mean, that is crazy.
That's right.
It's absolutely crazy.
And that's why you see they don't even care.
Yeah.
It doesn't even mean anything to them. They just sit around like,
yeah, it doesn't. So the money is there. So we should be, I hope this episode challenges so many underserved communities to create things that are worthy of receiving the money, right?
Yes.
And we might have ideas, but you're not trying to come up with an idea that allows you to play in this game.
That's right.
And it's, so when you think about this, let's unpack a little bit. What are some things you would advise someone who does want to play this game? So what are people looking for? What are you all looking for?
So here's where I would go back to those three things. So this is where the work should come in, and you hit it right on. Your market size means everything. Mm-hmm. So this is where the thinking small comes back. We always think about the TAM is really that addressable market. That TAM, total addressable market, means how much, if this idea went gangbusters, how much can I serve? Everybody wants to serve. The best addressable market is the entire world, right? Like,
right, exactly.
If I could serve 8.8 billion people,
right,
that's the goal, right? To serve the entire world, right? You can never address that, but that's the goal. But what you're gonna do is say, that's what I would say as a venture, that's my goal. But then I take the funnel and say, okay, now my SAM is my service addressable market. It would say, so if it's 8 billion, say my addressable market, my service addressable market would be a percentage of that. So let's just say 10% of that, call it, what is that, 800 million, right? Is my service addressable market. So that will say if I had the ideal team and everything I wanted to do, that's probably where I'm going to sit. And then what am I gonna charge for that? That's probably where I'm gonna really be. So this is where really the money is gonna sit. If I did everything right, this is where I would probably be. And as an investor, I would say this is probably gonna be my sweet spot. At some point I could probably get here.
Right.
So this would be the ideal if I went IPO or I got all the money in the world, it would be my TAM. But at least my middle part is good where I would probably be resting.
Okay.
The SOM, which is a service obtainable market, is where I am today. So this is where if I was operating right now, what I would have with my current team, family and friends, and what I'm operating with right now. So this would be saying, how much money am I making right now?
Right.
So like if they went, what's that show, Shark, whatever?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, if I go on Shark Tank and they say, how much money are you making right now?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, $2.
Yeah.
Out of here, get out of here, you ain't making no money.
Yeah, no momentum.
No momentum.
Yeah.
So that's what you would be making right now. So that's what they would say, okay, you got 10 customers, you're charging them $10, you're not making any money. So that's your service addressable market right now. So that's what I'm looking at as a investor to say, okay, how much money are you making right now? How much is your sweet spot if I gave you enough money to get to where you would want to be? And then what would be ideal if we could serve every customer in the world, we gave you all the capital, could you get to everybody? And you would know this number to everybody because maybe some things you just couldn't get to everybody. Like, for example, I couldn't get Wi-Fi to everybody because there's some mountains and things of that nature. There's things you can't get to everybody.
Yeah.
So you would know I couldn't get to 8.8 billion, so you would have to scale that number down.
Right.
So there's certain things you couldn't do that. So those are things where you would know if a person's doing their homework. So this is where I would tell people, do the homework to understand how your product or service, who could really get your product or service? Male, female, kids, is it restricted by regulation? Is it restricted by access by physical nature? Is it restricted, airplanes, schools, whatever it might be. Demographics, all those things you have to understand. And then how much are you charging from it? These are the numbers we would look at. one of the big numbers that we're always looking for is that, and this is a sweet number that we always say, whatever you do, we're looking for, it has to create $1 billion a year.
Okay.
Usually we're looking for something that's gonna create $1 billion a year. Because if I can get investors to invest in it, I can say, hey, this payoff is gonna be at least $1 billion a year.
When you say $1 billion, you mean has the potential
Potential,
to make,
yes.
Okay,
potential to get $1 billion a year.
Right.
So that would be the sweet spot, like it'll get to $1 billion a year in payoff, right? So that way people can say, okay, if I get to this. Now, it could be smaller, and again, I'm using that as the average. Now, as a seed investor in a smaller investment, that's not gonna be where I'm gonna get to.
Exactly. You're trying to get them to the next round.
I'm talking about the next round and so forth and so on. As an early investor, you're gonna be much smaller than that. It might be in the 10 million, 5 million, depending on where it is. But I'm saying on average, like if you wanna get to those numbers, it's gonna be that billion. So that's always a nice number that people like to hear, like, oh, that's gonna be $1 billion investment when they get to a big number. So again, depending on where you are, but I guess my biggest thing I can tell you is understand an addressable market, because that just tells you how big this thing is.
So let's unpack that a little bit. I got my whiteboard up here, if we can pull that up. So help me, for those that may not understand. So this first circle, let's say, is our total addressable market, right? So if we, let's say that this is really, and let me put some color in here, maybe this is really just the size of the whole market that potentially could get what I have, right? And then you're saying, I think the next one you said was SAM, which is our
service addressable market. So how much people can you really service with this based on the money that we give you?
Okay.
So this is more like the realistic number.
Okay.
Right?
So this is, you're out the gate saying we know the total addressable market is what creates a better service addressable market.
That's right.
If it's big enough, then it's the proportion between the two may be the same percentage-wise, but the pie is, if the pie is big enough, that same percentage is a bunch of people.
Exactly.
I got you.
Exactly. Like the dream can go, like it can keep getting bigger. Like the service addressable market, like there's still space. Like it creates, like there's still an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Because in other words, it's not dead in that there's still more we can go after if we do a little tweak here, a little tweak there, because the total addressable market, there's still room to grow, right? It's not locked.
All right, and then you talked about the service obtainable
market, yes.
Okay, so recap that again.
So the service obtainable market is what you have right now, what you have obtained to date.
Okay.
So what have you already captured running your business to date? So if you have a subscription business and you are selling subscriptions right now, I have 100 customers and I'm making $10 a month on those subscriptions. I'm making $1,000 a month. That's what I have right now.
All right, so then when you consider that, let me get another color here. So really the distance between here to here is what you all are looking at in terms of the realistic money that is possible for you to grow this business.
That's right.
Right now, you would love to go beyond what you thought it was going to be and get more into the TAM.
Right.
But what's realistic to build around, the distance between those two markets is where the money's made.
That's where the money's made, and I want to see, if I give you that money, how much is it really going to be a difference? Right. If it's just incrementally bigger than what you're doing today, it's not worth giving you the money. Right? So let's say you're making $1,000 now and your service addressable market is $2,000.
Right.
Why give you some money?
Right.
Go ahead and bootstrap it.
Yeah.
You can get another 10 customers, right? 100 customers. You can
and sometimes you see them do that like that on Shark Tank. Like, this really isn't something I feel there's enough upside for me to even get involved, right? And so here's a venture capital that has the money back, but they're evaluating the trajectory of the distance between the service obtainable market and the service addressable market. If there's not enough upside there or even enough connection and alignment between how the money could help this go faster.
Exactly.
Even if it has potential, but the money's not going to help that happen.
It's not going to help it happen. What's the point?
Why? Yeah, what's the point?
It's a waste.
Right.
It's like going to the bank and getting the money. It was a waste of time just going to the bank. Me just going to the bank wasn't even worth me. It cost me more money to go to the bank.
Right.
Mr. Wonderful spent too much time
going
to the bank to get the money for you.
Exactly.
Right? So that's really the point. And then the TAM is saying like, now this market wasn't even big enough, right? Then the TAM needs to be saying like, man, so you went from $1,000 to $2,000 and the market is only $5,000.
Right.
Then what's even the point there? Because the market's not even, because like that's where people say, for example, they might say, hey, I want to solve a problem for pet lizards.
Yeah, exactly.
5,000 pet lizards in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So the TAM is really saying, is there enough opportunity here?
Enough opportunity here.
Right, very, very good.
Is there enough opportunity here?
Good, so let me let everyone look at this one last time. So we've got our TAM, is there enough opportunity? We've got our service addressable market, which is the realistic place you could get to with some help. And the service obtainable market is the current state, and the venture capital is helping us to actually accelerate that path toward the service addressable market. So when you think about that, it sounds like what you're saying is a big portion of what determines the excitement and motivation from venture capital is the level of opportunity.
That's it.
Right? Because if there's at least an opportunity, they have the money to help the opportunity come true.
That's right.
But there's got to be a real opportunity.
It's got to be opportunity.
And I would suppose after we pass the opportunity is big enough, they're going to start looking at you, like how well you operate.
And that's your team.
Your team.
That's your team.
That whole thing.
And that's where the team comes in, because then they say, well, let's de-risk this.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so what we're trying to do with that is say, okay, well, we know these people, we have a team, we're going to put the right people, but then they're going to also say, can this person run a company?
Right.
Do they have the cred to run a company? Have they even run a company before?
Wow.
They're a great innovator, but they've worked at Subway.
Right.
Great idea.
Exactly.
They worked at Subway.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
And now they're going to start a tech operation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just gave them $10 million.
Exactly.
Absolutely not.
Right.
So if you want this $10 million, we're bringing in this CEO, this CFO, and this head of HR.
Only if the idea is good enough.
Only if the idea is good enough.
Right.
So how do you want this money? Do you really want the money? Because with that, comes these strings.
Yeah.
And that's where some people balk, say, no, I want... You don't have to take the money, but with the money comes an executive team.
Right, and those are the conditions.
Those are the conditions, because you don't have the team to run this.
Yeah.
You have a great idea.
Yeah.
You can be the chief creative officer or the head of technology or whatever.
Yeah.
But and you'll still retain your 51% in controlling share, but to get to the next level or the exit strategy, we need to get to that service obtainable or service addressable market.
Right.
And the only way to do that is people who've done that before.
And because they're de-risking their investment again by putting people in there that they know can get the job done.
And most of these people are only going to do it for they're what they call renter CEO, hire CEO, and they're going to do it for a certain time, 10 months, to get to this number.
Yeah.
And once we get to that number, we're supposed to exit, like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then there's another group that comes in, or we readjust it, right? So these are things that are not all permanent. People have to realize that it's about an exit strategy, because you're going to that next series. I got to get my money back, because I'm only putting it in for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And then that next round comes in, and you have to make a decision. Do you want to keep going?
Right.
Do you want that next round?
Yeah.
Do you want to cash out? Because now you're going to have this lump sum of money.
Yeah.
We paid it off. What do you want to do?
Well, and the thing about it that's good is everyone that gets involved, even though it's a little bit scary if you're a new entrepreneur and it's always been you and the people that you know, but the good part is everyone coming in wants it to win, because if it doesn't win, nobody wins.
Nobody wins.
So that's the thing that makes you sleep at night. Like, at least they're not coming here to crash what I have.
No, right.
And if it wins, we all win,
Exactly.
right? So I want to just... we're just about out of time here. We got to do this again. It's been a while since we've been together. We got to do this again. So one thing I want to just say, I want to back up to something. You had brought up some things about AI, and AI was something that got a lot of venture capital, and is still getting a lot of venture capital.
Yeah.
And so the issue with venture capital companies is they can't tell the future, right? No one can. You can only hypothesize and forecast and estimate what you think is going to happen. So let's use AI as an example. So many people invested, there's all this money that went in, there's all this hype and all this stuff. And I happen to know you were kind of educating me on some of the things that you're hearing, and some of the relationships you have working with so many different companies.
Yeah.
And tell me now, after all this investment has been made in AI, what are some of the gory details of what people are dealing with now in terms of real adoption of AI in the corporate space?
It's pretty interesting, and it was a great study that came out. You're hitting it right on the head. Is what people are realizing is that it's much harder than they thought. So this iRobots, all these movies that the robots are going to take over the world, artificial intelligence and AGI, Terminator, they're coming in. It's not as easy as you think. And what's happening is clearly a couple things. Number one, is two things called what they call probabilistic and deterministic. And this is what's really starting to change. What AI does is large language, and language models, they're using the large language models, it's called probabilistic. So in other words, if you use ChatGPT today, you ask it one question, it'll give you one answer. Do it 2 minutes later, it'll give you another answer. That's great if you want to be creative.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
if I ask
that's true.
If I say for my bank, hey, send this money over to Michael.
Yeah.
I send it to Michael today.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I send it to Corey.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I send it to somebody else.
Right.
That's not cool.
Right, exactly.
I need that money to go to Michael, right? Every single time.
Right.
And that's where the problem is. And so what the MIT study, the MIT study said is that they found out that this is a big problem, that all the companies that are investing, only 1% are getting out of the sandbox. In other words, they're leaving proof of concept. Companies have invested millions and none of them are going live.
Really?
Because they can't get it right. The AI models are not getting it right. So they're getting this problem of probabilistic answers that are not the same answers.
Right.
And they're not deterministic answers. They need the same answer.
So when you say probabilistic, you're saying that how AI is constantly saying this is what's probable, like this is like most likely.
Most likely.
But it's not the thing. It's not precision.
You might have cancer today.
Yeah, right.
Tomorrow, you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't launch that.
Right.
If I'm going to my healthcare provider and saying, what do these test results say?
Yeah.
Do I have cancer or not? It needs to say no or yes.
Right.
I'm making life decisions on this, right? If my account, and this is a big one too, if I'm in financial services and I'm trying to get a loan and it says my credit score is this, I have this many assets, did I get the loan or not? It needs to say yes or no.
Right.
If it gives me a yes on one thing and somebody else a no, was that based on race?
Right.
Because we both had the same credit score.
Exactly.
We both had the same assets.
Yeah.
Why did it give you a yes and give me a no?
Yeah.
Well,
then you start questioning the company that has it. Did you program something in there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the problems that are starting to happen with adoption of AI. People are saying, it's not working the way you said it was going to work. So companies now, it was another study that came out that said, and the other problem is like they said 43% of the ones coming out, only about 10% are actually delivering the value that they said they were going to get from it.
Really?
So if I invested 10, 30, 40 million dollars in this, and I was promised I was going to get 50, 60 million dollars in productivity,
right?
I want to see that.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting that. So everybody's starting to hit the brakes.
Wow.
Mark Zuckerberg was paying NBA salaries to get all these AI people working there.
Yeah.
He just hit the brakes and said, hold on. Companies are not asking for this stuff anymore. So everybody's kind of digesting now.
Wow.
And saying, let's slow down a little bit. It looks like this thing is not producing everything we said it's going to produce.
This is fascinating,
It's
right?
very fascinating.
And I love that you're uncovering this because a lot of people I know don't know, and I know you're in a lot of spaces with a lot of large organizations and companies, and see and hear what's really going on. And there's a difference between probable and precision.
Yes.
So it could be that we're finding out more that a lot of AI is very good for the probable, for idea generation, for a overview of the possibilities. But when you start wanting precision, it seems like this is where there's a danger, right? And I often, I did an episode one time called Artificial Ignorance. And the reason that I said that is because AI is pulling from all of the content that is online.
Yes.
So if something is out there that's not true, it's going to say it is true just because of the preponderance of repeating something.
That's right.
Right? And so that is a great quandary now that the world is in. And I think the corporate world, because of the money we were talking about earlier with venture capital, they've had money to move faster than entrepreneurs and everyday people. So this is going to be a trickle-down effect. So if you're listening right now, you say, "Oh, that's going on in the corporate stuff. That has nothing to do with me." But the trickle-down effect is they're showing us the future problem for all of us.
For all of us.
Is if you're thinking this is going to be precision, it's just like when you do some AI, you use it and you try to make an image, and then like the person has a third arm, right? Or like their eye is on the back of their head. You know what I mean? But when that has to do with your money or something more serious, and it's not just a little graphic,
that's right.
It can get real serious.
It can get real serious. So you got to double check, right? I remember I did one, I said, cite these sources. It cited me some sources. I double checked the sources. They were not real sources. So it gave me the sources as a book. I went and looked for the book. The book never existed.
Really?
So it made up a source, just to cite a source, right?
Yeah.
So these are things that we're living with that as we go on, we're gonna start to see that maybe this thing isn't really what it is. So what we're starting to see also, and this is the second thing I want to hit, this is how you know where we are. You're seeing a cluster effect. In other words, the OpenAI, the Cohere, the Anthropic, no one is leading the pack yet. So what you normally see in these areas is like somebody starts to jettison and starts to, the ChatGPT-5 release, he had to come back and Altman had to pull it back. So you're starting to see that everybody's starting to see, with all the money coming in, you should start to see somebody coming out. They're all starting to realize like this thing is not quite where we need it. And like you said, if you think about large language is very fungible. We know that. We used to play the game with the big words, right? I can make up these words.
In living color.
In living color, right? So language is not something you use for precision because language is very flexible. So what they're starting to say is, well, maybe we just go back to say what it is. Tell the AI to go here and just go there. And use language for creativity. And so what you're seeing is people say, well, maybe we just go back to what we did before and use standard workflows and go get the data here, calculate the data, give you that, and use the language to. And so we're going back to 2023 almost in some areas. So it's very funny because we're having these conversations and it's almost like, wow, we're not really that advanced as far as thinking about like these robots taking over the world.
As we thought, And I want to kind of end this on a divine note. And I know you're a spiritual person as well. And you know, when you think about AI, and we think about God as a great creator that made the human brain, and the created is toying with the creator. In terms of trying to discern how the magnificence of the brain was built and trying to replicate that through technology. So we're playing in a field that is a little dangerous in that regard. And as one scripture said, can the thing that was formed say to the thing that formed it, why hast thou made me thus, right? And so, when you look at AI, I was looking at something where, when you're understanding AI, it's getting deeper than just saying, like you said, go here, go there, but trying to get into reasoning. So first when AI is saying, well, what is a bird? And it said a bird has wings and does this and that. But then when it saw a penguin, it got confused because that is a bird that doesn't look like a normal bird. And so then AI doesn't know. It's like, no, this is a camel. You know what I mean? So it's trying to reason, right? So where do you think, what's your take? Just, we're just kind of talking from the heart here in closing. When you think about the divine element, it's kind of interesting of what's happening now, and some of this stuff is breaking down because we're kind of touching in an area that's a little dangerous when you think about God.
It is. It's very unnerving, and what's really practical, what's really scary is one of the companies right now that's getting the most attention is one of the defense companies. It's called Palantir. And their AIs really used for war. And one of theirs is to detect where people are, to detect how to destroy people, to detect how to use drones, to detect. And they've already uncovered that, to your point. What is a human? Where is the human? How do they? And as you stated, if you think about that and you start trying to put all that together, I might mistake you.
Yeah.
That's a fatal mistake.
Fatal mistake.
And that's it. And as you try to think about who the divine is, and we're trying to figure this stuff out in math, now we have literally put decision-making of life and death in the hands of these machines. And this is where, to me, you have now entered in the realm of probabilistic and deterministic to the utmost. And that's, to me, is the most scariest thing, as you just mentioned, is that we are now playing with the ultimate thing that you cannot get back.
Right.
I can fix code, I can get back money, I can say oops here and there.
Yeah.
But I can't get a do-over, as you say, in life.
Yeah.
And this now has become a company now that actually has eclipsed McKinsey and consulting, eclipsed Bain and consulting. They are now moving into the consulting field of helping companies determine how to use AI, how to use data. And it's a very interesting story of where this company is going.
Wow.
And how they're moving from defense into business.
Wow.
So my point here is that what you're saying is absolutely spot on. I'm not endorsing anything, but it's just a very interesting way and realm we're moving into, where the blurring of the lines of all this is coming together, of where we all live and where we stay, and what you're just seeing and what's happening in Ukraine and what's fighting the wars, not even people anymore.
Yeah, that's so true. You see it on the news all the time, and just a drone was sent, and no people involved. It's almost like video games now, right?
The only people involved are the ones that are carrying off.
Yeah, exactly. Carrying on. And when you have mistaken identity and just things that were done just in the inner city, you went to jail falsely accused, or you was on death row falsely accused. We hear these stories all the time. But it's a difference when you're dead falsely accused.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
There's no oops there that would justify the outcome. And so this has been outstanding, Cory. I want to thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't mean to end on that note. But
no, that's what I wanted. I wanted to end on that note. We went to a powerful place, because the whole point, I think we want to talk about the things that are relevant that's happening today. And so I just want to thank you so much. Absolutely. It's been a wonderful conversation. You got to promise me that you're going to come back and spend some time with me. We're going to get into some other stuff and unpack it. But
enjoy it.
I really want to thank all of you for tuning in to this episode. If you are an entrepreneur out there and you have an idea, I want to just empower you to think as big as possible. Do not limit yourself. Think more about leverage. And when we think about venture capital, it really is a way to leverage other people's money to grow an idea that will benefit everyone. And so if you are an individual that wants to play at that level, I want you to realize there's people out here that's trying to be a voice for the voiceless, trying to find a way to create new opportunities for those who didn't have them. So make sure you stay in contact and keep an eye on Vanta Ventures and the people who have this type of heart, this type of mindset. And I don't know, before I finish this closing, I'm kind of flowing here, but I forgot, do you want anyone, is there a way for people to contact you all or anything you're doing? Or,
sure.
Yeah, why don't you say something about that?
Yeah, feel free to go to VantaVenture.com and go to the website and just hit the info button, and you feel free to contact me there.
VantaVenture.com. Yeah. All right, you all got it. So listen, make sure that you go to VantaVenture.com if you're interested in that. And whatever you do not play small, because you only live once. Get everything out of your ideas that you can. And also, make sure you realize all hype is not real. So even though we want to use the technology, don't let the technology use you. This is You Are a CEO. Keep charging, expanding, and overcoming. That's what we mean by CEO. And I look forward to our next episode. God bless.